It's been about 20,000 miles since I last did a diesel purge on my 91 350 STL. So I figure do a new fuel filter, pre-filter, main filter, do a diesel purge. So Paramedic on TDI Club makes these really nice container things that'll make it really easy to do the diesel purge on this car. You'll see what I mean in just a moment. So first things first, I need to disconnect the fuel lines. The upper line is the return and the lower line is the feed. And you can see that goes into the little pre-filter here, which is pretty dark. So go ahead and one thing to be aware of is I found on this car these lines will actually gravity feed, especially if the front is lower than the rear. So when you take this off, it'll start just dumping fuel out. So you'll want to perhaps take a little piece of extra fuel line and loop between them when you disconnect. I said to be careful, and I even made a huge mess. Now one thing you want to be careful with here is if you drip fuel down, it's going to land on the boot for the drag link and collect in the motor mount, which is rubber. So when I'm all done, I'm going to clean these areas off thoroughly. And you can see I've just looped the lines here. I've got the lines coming from the car. Not much fuel spills out of these. So now I'm going to go ahead and plumb them into the bottle. You can see just how dirty this old filter is compared to the new one. One thing that's interesting, the original, well not the original, but the filter I had on before is a Hengst, and the fuel flows in through the outside, through the screen, and then out the nipple to the fuel pump. On the Mon filter, which is what I've got to install, you can see the arrow, the fuel flows into the middle through the screen, out, and then through the nipple. So this one collects all the garbage on the outside of the screen. This one collects it on the inside. I would incline to think that this is a better design because it would hold more junk, but I think this will do fine for now. I put a couple rags under the main fuel filter, and I also have a catch pan down below. To remove this, you actually loosen this, I think it's a 19 millimeter nut, and as I turn this, you should see filter loosen. With the bolt completely loose, the filter just dropped down, and I can actually remove this nut, banjo bolt. I guess that's a banjo bolt. And my fuel filter kit comes with a new O-ring. So I'll go ahead and replace that. Get this old filter out of the way. Okay, I'm just going to pre-fill this filter a bit. Doesn't have to be all the way full. But that's going to make it start quite a bit easier. Now the Mercedes has this fuel transfer pump here on the side of the injector pump, so it will push fuel up into the filter, but you know, if I don't have to have that pump do all the work, it'll start a little bit more easily. So this is an old IV bottle, and I've connected it up, suspended it. You can see that it's even pre-filling the system since this is high and it takes the fuel in here from the bottom. I did make one small change to Bruce's design, and I put a very fine hole up here, which of course makes it more difficult to fill. I added there's about 1.5 cans in here total. The fuel filter itself took about 3/4 of a can, and then I added the remainder of that and about half of another can to this jug. So let's crank the engine over and let it run for a bit. Oh, too much air. Let's try that again. Close. Have to try again in a minute. All right, it's set for a minute. Let's try again here. You've probably heard people mention that it's bad to run a diesel out of fuel, and that's why. It'll be very difficult to restart. So, if we look here, you can see the tremendous amount of fuel that's constantly circulating through the fuel system as it runs. There's my pre-filter. And I'm actually going to let this run for a minute. And then I'm going to stop the engine and let the cleaner sit on the injectors for a while. One other thing I should mention is that I did run this a little bit before, so it is warm. What I'm going to do now is turn on the air conditioning, put it in gear, give it a little throttle to get the parts in the injection pump moving. So this is how the 3.5 liter engine should start. Very smooth. You can see we've used most of our little fountain bottle here. Of course, no bubbles down below. Alright, I let the car sit for about 30 minutes with the Diesel Purge in the system. I used the last bit of the can in the bottle, and as you can see, we're getting down now to about the end. So when this runs out, I'll go ahead and connect the fuel lines back up to the car's fuel tank, and this job will be complete.